In Mate's house, life behind bars, not these bars right here. Now, by the time you see this video, this should be the third video about the 1300GS Adventure. I've already released the one where we show collecting it. I've got another one which I'm about to release, it's not fully finished yet, about the stripping it down, putting all the bits on there. But then, since then, I've then taken it for its 450 miles. I was supposed to do 600 miles, but I just got tied up chatting with people en route. I've done 450 miles on the bike, running it in, riding around Wales. Now, that route was put together by Tom who works here. I didn't get a chance to plan that route, so he did it for me, and he said, "Are you okay with a bit of light off-roading?" I had no idea it was going to be as rough. I wouldn't say rough. This is stuff that I'm used to when I ride my GS and I ride my Husqvarna 250. But on this great big beast, it's a bit of a heavy weight. So I did find myself at a bit of a loose end, and a little bit worried because I was by myself out there in the wilderness. It's not proper wilderness like a lot of you Americans know and Canadians, but it's as far as the wilderness goes here when it comes to Wales or Scotland. But I have my camera rolling, so I've got a lot of that footage for you to see right now. So I thought you might be interested in seeing how the GS Adventure fares doing a little bit of off-roading. Now, one of the things that I don't do, and sometimes customers, they assume or they ask me to review things. I don't do reviews. I don't review bikes. I don't review products, not really. I show you products. I show you stuff that we stock. I show you the stuff that I use myself, but I don't really do product or bike reviews. That's not what I'm about. But I would like to let you know, as an owner of this bike, what my experience is of the ASA. So the ASA is the automatic clutch side of things. Now, if you've been following, you'll know that I ordered an R1300GS Adventure with a clutch. I didn't want to commit to the ASA system. However, unfortunately, the dealer that I bought the bike through went into administration, and I couldn't get my hands on that bike. So then the second dealer stepped in and managed to get me a bike urgently so I could get the bike ready for EICMA. So the bike is going to EICMA tomorrow. I'm starting the ride down there tomorrow, so I just want to get this bit of video footage done now before I head off down to Milan. So what can I tell you about this ASA system? Now, one of the things I have no idea, and I think it's important for you to know, is that the gearbox, it's not like a proper lever on your left foot where you click it into gear. It doesn't actually drop into gear. It's so if you take a 1250 or just a conventional motorcycle, but if you take a 1250, even with a quick shifter, when you go through the gears, you feel that very positive click, and it's because something is clicking into place in that gearbox, and you can feel it. And you can go all the way through the gears. Eventually you get to fifth or sixth gear, and there's no more, you can't go any further. Now, with the ASA, it's nothing like that at all. The ASA is basically an electronic button, but it's still activated by what you have down there where the foot is, a gear lever. But you're not actually putting anything into gear. You're just triggering a button, and then the computer does the rest. So when you get to sixth gear, it still feels exactly the same, and you think, oh, should I go into seventh gear or eighth gear? It still gives you the feeling like there's another gear to go to. Neutral is not between first and second. You just hold the foot all the way down. So when you're in first gear or park, you, which I think is first gear, you just hold your foot down and it eventually goes into neutral. So that whole thing where it's not actually clicking into gear, you can't feel it on your foot, is it's very unsatisfying or dissatisfying, whatever the right word is. I think either word could be used. Whereas changing a proper gear lever, it feels satisfying. It also means you could be going down through the gearbox, going from fourth to third and third to second. And sometimes, even with a quick shifter, you might have to pull the clutch in because it's quite hard to get the timing, the revs just right. This, no worries, it'll always go into gear because you're not actually kicking anything into gear. You're just pressing a button and the computer's doing the rest. So at first I didn't like it, but then I started getting used to it. It's when you jump off, you stop for lunch, you have a bit of dinner, or you get on the next day and you pick everything back up again thinking, actually, this is pretty good. And you get through those gears quickly. I have been using the ASA gearbox in manual mode. That's what I prefer. I tried it in the automatic mode where it's called drive. Try it in drive mode and it does all the gear changes for you. I tried it, didn't like it. I thought the gear changes were a bit pulsy, a bit jerky. However, later on the second day, after I've got about 400 miles under my belt, I did start using it in heavy traffic and I did find that a benefit. So, you know, thumbs up to the ASA in heavy traffic because you can just sit there and twist and go. That's quite cool. If I could go through and buy this bike again, I would not opt to have the ASA. I've got to be honest, I would not. But that is only because of some of the terrain that I like to ride on. If I knew I was riding in the dry, and if I knew I wasn't doing hairpin bends and mountain roads, I probably would have the ASA. But because I do like mountain roads, and I do like all those little gnarly, gravelly roads that are wet and slippy and tight hairpin bends, because I do like all that, I want to have control of that clutch. So let me give you an example, and I have some video footage to show you. There's a section of road, I think it's called the World's End. It's coming up through some little country lanes towards the Ponderosa Cafe. You go down, a lot of you will know exactly where I'm talking about, but you're going down this section of lane and you get to a bit of a hairpin at the bottom with a Ford going across it. That stony surface where the Ford crosses is like slippy as. It's like, do they go through and polish that and then oil it as well to make it as slippy as they can? So I'm entering that, I think, in second gear. If you can see on the video footage, you might be able to see on the right hand side of the TFT what gear I was in. But I was in the very, very low gears, lowest as I could get it into. And I know I haven't got a clutch to pull in. And as I come out at the end of that, whether it's the rear wheel driving forwards, which I know it wouldn't be, there's no way I rolled on the accelerator coming out of that bend, no way at all. Which means it's gonna do a little bit of engine braking. And I don't want engine braking. I don't want that rear wheel doing anything when I'm on a surface like that. So I know, I'm absolutely positive of it. If I was on a manual bike with a clutch, I'd have kept my wheels straight and I'd have gone through in a straight line, I'd have pulled the clutch in and rolled all the way through, and once I get through to the other side of the Ford, I'd have let the clutch out and I'd have feathered off around the corner. But as you can see from that footage, I nearly came off. I had to put my foot down and the weight of that bike is so heavy. So yeah, that's why I would not want an ASA. I don't know if any of you know how to get around that, then please tell me. But to trying to access neutral is not a quick thing because you've got to hold the lever down for so many seconds. And then the other thing was hairpins. So when I go up very narrow, or it doesn't matter what hairpin it is really, but let's say a very, very narrow bit of track with tight hairpins, the ones where you almost come to a standstill as you're turning, and then you let the clutch out to shoot up the next section. You know, those really, really tight ones, hard knots pass, that sort of thing. I don't ride much in the UK, so, but yeah, you know what I'm talking about though. So with the ASA, I found myself on some tight hairpins that I found. Unfortunately, it's not on video, but I found myself touching the front brake. And I'm thinking, what am I doing? There's wet leaves on the ground, and here I am trying to turn in a very, very short space, very short, small area, and I'm touching the front brake because when I go into a hairpin, I go in confidently. I come in pretty quick, and then I use the hill, as I'm going up the hill, I use the hill to slow me down. And so by pulling the clutch in, you kind of turn the bike around, and then you've got the bike pointing where you want to go, you let the clutch out and you go. You can't do that with an ASA gearbox. So they're the main two things I wasn't too sure of. And I had a couple of hill descents as well when I was off-road, which were very, very wet. And I was genuinely worried. I was thinking, what's going to happen? Because for me, if I'm doing a hill descent, I want to come down, let's say in first gear, if it's a very, very steep bit off-road, so we're going very slow speeds, I want to either be in first gear using engine braking, or I want to be using the rear brake. And possibly locking up the rear wheel and pulling in the clutch so we don't stall it, or maybe locking up the rear wheel, actually stalling it, because I've made the decision I want to stall the bike and use that extra engine braking with the bike stalled. But these are choices that I'm making in my head based on what I've learned on actual hard enduro dirt bikes, which I like to carry across to the big adventure bikes. So just having that ASA gearbox was a concern in those random situations. So if you're on the road and you're doing just road riding, and then it's great, it's fantastic. It's very, very, very enjoyable. So I found myself doing a very long section of off-road bits around the Ellen Valley area, somewhere, I don't know where I was to be fair, but if I get a chance, I will put it up on the screen, the map, so you can get a rough idea where I was in Wales. When I was picking up speed on the gravel tracks, they weren't proper fire roads, but they were some gravel tracks, and I was picking up a bit of speed. It's one of the reasons why I love taking heavy bikes off-road. I love the feeling of that bike moving underneath me, squirming away, but you're still going in the direction that you want to go in, because you got your head up and you're looking where you want to go, and the bike's doing something different underneath you. That's the rush that I love from riding my bike off-road. This thing, way too heavy. It's just too heavy. So as the bike's moving underneath me, it's reminding me, because I can feel the tank, well, not so much the tank, but I can feel the bike pressing on the inside of my thighs. Steady, but it's pressing on the inside of my thighs, and it's really throwing the weight into the thighs, and it's just reminding me that I'm a heavy bike, and if we go down, this is going to be very painful. Whereas on the GS, I don't get that. It's moving around underneath me. It feels great. I can be very relaxed. Whereas it's very hard to relax on this great big heavy lump off-road. But to be fair, maybe it was a bit similar with the 1250 as well, but I just really, really notice it with this one, okay? And that's a 1250 Adventure that I used to have. I think that's about it. Just enjoy the video. I think I've mentioned it in a previous video, but there isn't a Krapovich decatted header, titanium header that's going on this, but it's been a little bit delayed, so there'll be a unique video just for that, hopefully before Christmas, so please stay tuned for that, because that's going to be a real good one. And I think I'm going to fit it to this. Saying that, I might fit it to the GS, I don't know. So the running in miles are done. Got it into the dealer today for its first service. You can see me wheeling it off the back of the trailer here, but also picking up the GS that's just had its 6,000 mile service. So a bit of an expensive day here at Bike Thing, getting both these serviced. But they're both here, back at home, where they should be. Aren't they just great? It's fantastic. So that's going to get some off-road tyres put back on there, because that's going to do more off-roading, whereas this one's going to have road tyres on there. Okay, I need to go and pack a bag and spend some time with the wife. I haven't seen her for a while, and obviously I'm going away for a bit to Milan. Until next time, stay safe behind bars, and I'll see you in the next video.